Hi, I'm Steven Rector, Park Ranger with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Thank you for joining us for this month's showing of the West Point Lake Update, a show with news, information, and events on and around West Point Lake. We'll be right back with our first guest after this short break.
When boating this summer, remember three things. We call them the big three. Hi, this is Sergeant Jim Bradfield with DNR Law Enforcement in Troup County. Number one, wear your life jacket. You can't grab a stowed life jacket if you're ejected during an accident. Number two, obey and follow navigation rules. On the water, there are rules of the road. Know them and follow them. And number three, don't drink in boat. A couple of drinks could ruin your life forever. Remember the big three and boat safe. Go to gadnrle.org and click on boating for more information.
Hi and welcome back. We have with us now Sergeant Jim Bradfield with the Georgia Department of Natural Resources Law Enforcement Division. Sergeant Bradfield, thanks for being with us today.
It's good to be here today, Steve.
I asked you to come on the show today because it's that time of year where folks are starting to get their boats out at the beginning of the season, may not have had them out for maybe 6 or 7 months. I just wanted to kind of touch base with you if there's any changes in any new laws, and kind of go back to last year and talk about some of those new laws that went into effect last year as well.
Okay, there's not any new laws that have come into effect other than the ones from the previous year that you're referring to. And what you're referring to there is the age of life jacket, where you're required to wear your life jacket, and that's 12 and under. So if you're 12 years old or under, you're now required to wear a life jacket, and we're into the second year of that. And the age of operation of a vessel in the required boater education course, and that is if you were born on or after January 1, 1998, you are required to take a state certified boater education course before you operate a vessel.
And that I think is kind of a very important law. Are you seeing a lot of compliance with that specific law there on the?
Yes, as it's been coming into effect for over a year now, we're seeing more and more people complying with that and attempting to comply with it and requesting classes and various means like that.
And I get a lot of questions, and I understand the way you stated it, but I just want to ask this question because I get this question a lot. And I talk to adults, they say, look, I haven't had a boater safety course. Am I now required to take that course? And I understand the way you said it, but I just want to give you that question the way I hear the question.
If you were born after 1998, January 1, 1998, then yes, you have to have it. If you're born before that, no, then you're grandfathered in, so to speak.
Okay, so I just wanted to make that clear for any of our viewers because I get that question a lot. We see you out there on patrol a lot in the summertime, in the springtime as well. I just kind of wanted to touch base with what are some of the things that you're looking for, and I guess the other thing would be what are some of the more frequent violations that you encounter while you're out there on patrol? Well,
probably the best way to answer that question is I'll try to describe to you what a DNR ranger is going to do when we initiate a vessel stop. That will include the things that we're going to look for. When a DNR ranger initiates a vessel stop, it's most likely going to be for some specified reason, and the officer should identify himself, the agency that we work for. Like, I'm Sergeant Jim Bradfield with DNR Law Enforcement, and we stopped you today because of this, and they'll give you some type of reason. After that, we will request some documents, some boater registration documents, and possibly an ID for the driver, which would be 2 legal requirements that you would have to have. After we obtain those documents, the registration documents will tell us some things about your boat and the various types of equipment that it may have to have. and who the boat belongs to, and that's why we want to see that. And after we get those documents, we'll ask for a wearable life jacket for everyone on board. We'll make a visual observation if there's any kids on board that are 12 or under, and if they had a life jacket on, and we may say something about that as well. But we want to see a serviceable and wearable life jacket for everyone on board. If the vessel is more than 16 foot in length, we'll ask for a throwable life jacket or a Type 4 life jacket, a ring buoy, or what's commonly referred to as a boat cushion. And if the vessel is got a gas motor on it and constructed in a way where fumes can be trapped, we will ask for a fire extinguisher, a marine grade U.S. Coast Guard approved fire extinguisher. And if it's night, we'll want to make sure your lights are working properly. We may check those. And we'll check some various other things, kind of passively throughout that, like possibly look for impaired driving, operators drinking and driving and things like that. So, but the safety equipment that I outlined there, that's what we're going to look for.
And I had a question about, I get people a lot who say, I don't really carry my wallet with me when I'm on the boat. I don't want to take my purse out there with me. Mm-hmm. My understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, that a photocopy of one of those driver's licenses.
Exactly. A photocopy will work. It is sufficient by law as long as we can tell who it is in the picture. And that's usually not an issue anyway. We usually don't make an issue out of boaters not having an ID at all, much less a photocopy. But it is a legal requirement. But a photocopy is legally sufficient.
And then I also wanted to ask you about, you briefly touched on impaired driving. Was it last year or year before last that they changed some of the requirements on what was technically boating under the influence? Yes,
last year, 2 years ago, they changed the level of intoxication is legal to operate a vessel to comply or to be consistent with automobiles, and it's 0.08 now, where before it was 0.10, but now it's 0.08, which is the same as a car, same as driving automobiles.
Okay, and I know that you guys are very well marked when you're out there. I mean, your boat has blue light sirens, very well marked that you are with the Georgia Department of Natural Resources Law Enforcement Division. Do you frequently get people that do not stop for you?
Not usually. Only just a handful of times throughout my 20-plus year career has a vessel failed to stop and we not apprehended them. It doesn't happen that often. Usually we're in fairly close proximity to a boat before we initiate a stop and they go ahead and stop. But people are usually very compliant with that.
We often run into you at scenes here on the lake where something has happened. Mm-hmm. You are required, if there is an accident involving a boat, to file your own reports as well. And so we run into you a lot there. Can you talk about, just very briefly, the requirements for filing a boat accident report?
Well, if you're involved in a boating accident where there is injury that requires any kind of medical attention beyond normal first aid, that is a reportable boating accident. Or if a vessel or property is damaged in an excess of $2,000, that is a reportable boating accident. So if it's very minor damage, less than $2,000, it's not reportable. Individuals sometimes still want some type of report for insurance purposes, which we may or may not, we probably would provide it. There may be a circumstance where we would not, but we would probably provide them with some type of report if they needed one. But it's not it doesn't go in the boat accident reporting statistics if it's less than $2,000 or there's not any injury involved.
And if there is a boating accident where there's not an injury involved, of course, if there is an injury involved, our viewers need to call 911 immediately. But if it's no injury involved, the local sheriff's department, contact them. Is that the best way to get in touch with you as well?
The best way to get in touch, to get any kind of help when you're on the lake and you need any kind of assistance, boating accident or your vessel has broken down and you need a tow, is to call the 911 center. Your telephone is probably one of the most important, if not the most important piece of safety equipment that you can carry with you while you're on a boat. And call the 911 center and just kind of listen. If you're on West Point Lake, you're subject to get Chambers County, Alabama 911, or you may get Troup County 911. So listen to how they answer the phone, and so you will be better able to answer the questions that they ask, and they can direct you to the right place. They can transfer you. They can get you the help that you need, whether it be us or the Corps or the Sheriff's Office or an ambulance. The 911 center will get the proper people notified for you.
And kind of knowing where you're at while you're out there on the lake is a big part of
very important.
when you call 911 as well.
That's very important. It's very common, Stephen, for people to call the 911 center and need some type of assistance and not be able to tell the 911 center where they are. And it becomes very difficult to locate people on a 26,000 acre lake with 500 plus miles of shoreline that covers 2 counties and 2 different states. If you can't tell the 911 center or someone where you're located, it's very difficult for us to find you.
And I know we have gone through and made sure that we have signs facing out toward the water to help people. We've got buoy numbers out there to help people.
That's helped a lot with people unfamiliar with the lake being able to tell where they are, and it helps us in providing them assistance.
Find a buoy number or a park name that you can see off in the distance and get that to the 911 operator.
Or an address on a dock, things like that. That always helps us.
And then, you keep your boat pretty accessible, but you still, you have a wide range of area that you're responsible for.
Yes, Stephen, I actively work 5 different counties, and I've got 4 major reservoirs in my work section that I work. I work a lot, probably more on West Point Lake because of its size and because I live here. So, yeah, we're spread pretty thin, but our boats are very accessible, and during the high activity boating times, it's very likely that we have a boat on the water here, as well as it's very likely that the Corps may have a boat out on the water. So if it's a high activity boating period, we're probably on the water or very available.
Well, I just want to say I do appreciate all that you and your entire team does here at West Point Lake. And it's not just about boating. You're also out there in hunting areas because there's a lot of hunting area around West Point Lake as well. And I guess I should mention that there's still hunting seasons.
Yes, turkey season's going right now, and so we're kind of divided up between hunting, working turkey hunting, and the fishing activities picking up. As if you've driven around the lake, you've seen the scores of people fishing from the bank right now and in boats. Yeah. So we're spread pretty thin with all of that type of activity, and boating season's kind of getting in its kickoff and picking up as well.
Yeah, tough time of year for you with all the hunting and the fishing.
It's probably our busiest time of year is the spring.
Well, we thank you for being out there, and I really appreciate you taking time out to be on today's show.
Oh, sure thing.
And stay tuned. We'll be right back with our next guest.
What do you know about operating a boat? Hi, this is Sergeant Jim Bradfield with DNR Law Enforcement in Troup County. Have you heard of the 100-foot law? What is the minimum age of a boat operator? Can you drink alcohol on a boat? Take a boater education course and you'll know the answer to these questions and a lot more. Also remember that anyone born after January the 1st, 1998 must take an approved course to operate a boat on Georgia waters. Information on classroom, online, and home study courses is available at gadnrle.org.
Hi, and welcome back. Joining me now is Reverend George Collins with the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. Reverend Collins, thanks for being on the show today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I wanted to start out and just ask you about the Coast Guard in general, and then the Coast Guard Auxiliary, specifically what all they do here at West Point Lake. And I know there are a lot of things. I just want our viewers to sort of become familiar with all of the work that the Coast Guard Auxiliary does here.
All right, first of all, the Coast Guard Auxiliary is a division of the United States Coast Guard, except with 2 exceptions. We do not do law enforcement, and we do not do military, but we do all the same functions that they do. We do aids to navigation. We check the buoys out there to make sure they're on station. We do vessel exams, which make sure the boats are safe and legal. We also do instruct in what you would call boating safety classes, which we'll talk about in a little while. And we also do what they call program visits. We set up little racks of display with safety material in it to let people know what's required as far as what size life jacket for a child, or who can operate a boat and who cannot operate a boat. What's the best thing to do? Tips for campers, hunters, and fishermen. Aids to navigation, we'll teach you a little bit about the aids and how to read the buoys on the lake, so you know where you're going and know how to get back. It's quite involved in what we do. Like I say, we are similar to the Coast Guard except for those 2 exceptions.
But you are also, if I'm not mistaken, an all-volunteer organization as well.
We are, as long as you are over 17, you haven't committed any felonies, and you are a citizen of the United States, you are welcome to join the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary, and there is no age requirement past that point. You take on the challenges that you want, you take the courses that you want, and you choose the missions that you want. So it is strictly volunteer. Some people are very active and some people are doing it. One of the biggest things about the Coast Guard Auxiliary is not just the safety and to make sure that you are out there and your boat is okay, but the fellowship between the organization members. The flotilla we have here in West Point is Flotilla 8-1, and we are like a family. You know, we look out for each other and we take care of each other, and we like the fellowship with each other. It's really fun. And
how many active members do you currently have here at West Point? I mean, do you roughly know off the top of your head?
I think we're running about 18 to 20. We're a fairly small flotilla. If you go out to some of the coastal areas, some of the flotillas might run as many as 80 to 100 members.
Wow.
But we're fairly small, but you know, something that also makes us a nice family too.
And you meet every month and have your training at that point, if any training is required, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, we meet on the third Saturday of the month. At 9:30 we meet for fellowship, which is usually coffee and donuts. Then at 10 o'clock we start our meeting. After the meeting they will have some kind of training for the members. You can also do a lot of your training on the internet and pick up information that way. And then you have what they call PQS, which is once you've taken a course, like for instance, I become a vessel examiner, which I am myself. Not only do I have to take the course, but I have to do 5 supervised vessel safety checks, and then I have to do 5 on my own after that to maintain my vessel examiner status. So you not only learning from computer and learning in classroom, but you're actually learning out there on the water.
And then one of the things, I guess before we move on to, I have some specific questions about the Coast Guard Auxiliary, but there seems to be a belief that you have to be a boat owner to be a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary.
That's not true. That's not true.
And I know that's not true, and that's why I brought it up.
Well, yes. I would say only about, out of our 18, 20 members, that maybe only 5 of us have boats.
And I knew that was the case, but I wanted to make sure that any of our viewers who might have questions about, well, I'm not a boat owner, but it sounds neat, wanted to make sure that we got that very clear here in the beginning, that you do not have to be a boat owner to be a member of the auxiliary.
You know, there's a lot of opportunities. Like, for instance, I'm also an instructor and I teach the boating safety course. Some of our instructors do not own boats. Some of our program visitors do not own boats. Some of our vessel examiners do not own boats, and some of our ATON verifiers do not own boats. In fact, we do occasionally do with the Corps, in cooperation with the Corps, we will go out occasionally on buoy runs to check the buoys. And
you talked about this a little bit just in brief, but I want you to go into a little bit more detail on specifically the vessel safety checks. I personally feel that's a very important thing that the Coast Guard Auxiliary does, but I want you to tell us about kind of how that vessel safety check works, what you're looking for, and kind of why people should be more interested in having these done on an annual basis.
Yes, a vessel safety check is very important. First of all, if you fail the vessel safety check, there is no penalty. We're not law enforcement. We do not enforce the law. But what we do want you to have is a safe boat, and we want to make sure that you have all the equipment required by law to prevent you from getting a ticket. Now, when I do vessel safety checks, I will give a copy of this, which is the federal regulations, because West Point is a federal lake. I also give a copy of the Georgia boating laws, so they have the information from both, because they do enforce the stricter of the two. The vessel safety check, which is this, it's a United States Coast Guard form, and on it is required all the things by law, which is also found in the federal book in the center page. And once you pass the vessel safety check, we will give you a copy of this. Some insurance companies will honor the vessel safety check and give you a discount on your insurance, knowing that you are legal and that you are safe. We also will award a decal. This is this year's decal. It's a 2015 vessel safety check decal, which is put on your boat. And like I said, the most important thing is that you're safe and is that you're legal.
And I think it's important that you said that there is no penalty if you fail it.
There is no penalty, and if you fail, say because you missed an item, you just call us and let us know. My phone number or any of the other vessel examiners' phone number will be on the sheet. You can call us and we will re-inspect the vessel and give you a decal. There is no charge for this. It is strictly voluntary. When I'm at the marina at West Point Marina, West Point, it'd be Southern Harbor and Highland Marina, I will ask people, would you like a courtesy vessel safety check? And some of them say, no, I'm all right, and they don't want it, and that's fine. And I will still issue them a copy of the Georgia and the federal regulations. And some people say, yes, I'd love to get that. And we do that thing, like I say, and if they fail it, just give me a call when you get it fixed, and we'll take care of it.
Yeah, and I think that's a wonderful program that you guys have, because I mean, there's no cost to ask you to come out and look at an individual's boat. There's no penalty if you don't fail it, and you get so much great information that's going to prevent you from running into problems later, at least with your required safety equipment.
Exactly, and like I say, our main function is make sure that you're out there safe and you're out there legal.
And how many, you mentioned earlier, but how many vessel safety checks did you perform last year?
I did roughly about 85 last year myself. We do have 2 other vessel examiners in our flotilla, and I think we finished out the year with somewhere around 100. I do a lot of them because I am at West Point Lake a lot.
Yeah, I mean that's wonderful. But no, I hope our viewers will hear about this program, and hopefully we can double that number for you next year, because there are way more than 100 boats on this lake. You know, so
yes, especially on the 4th of July, I have counted over 300 boats watching the fireworks.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that our viewers get this information, and actually when you ask them at one of these marinas, they say, well, yes, I would like to have a...
Well, if they would like, and they, like I say, I will be down there usually on the 3rd Saturday in the afternoon, either at Highland or at Southern Harbor, or they can call me at 770-583-2433, and I can arrange a meet with them somewhere, or have one of the other vessel examiners meet with them somewhere, and we can even do it in their driveway.
Well, that's great information. I appreciate you giving out that phone number as well. I wanted to also ask you about another, and you have so many wonderful programs with the Coast Guard Auxiliary, but the other one that I'm directly involved with is the boating safety courses. And I wanted you to just take a minute or so and talk about the boating safety courses. We heard from Sergeant Bradfield earlier about the new requirements. Those born after July 1st, 1998 are now required to complete a course before they can safely or legally operate a boat on Georgia waters. But just talk for a few minutes about the boating safety course.
The boating safety course, first of all, I believe, regardless of your age, you should take one.
I agree.
Because I have had people say, I have operated a boat for years, and then they'll ask me to do a vessel safety check, and they'll say, oh, I didn't know I had to have that. And the boating safety course will show you this is what you need to have. And we'll also give you tips on how to navigate. We will give you tips on as far as handling the boat itself. And once you take the boating safety course, the Corps of Army Engineers will issue you a boating safety card. And especially if you're young, you're required to have that on you, as well as some kind of identification. So, and we do have them. We have them coming up on April 14th and 16th. We got us coming up on May 19th and 21st, 16th and 18th of June, July 14th and 16th, August 18th and 20th. The course fee is $15. It will be held at the Corps of Army Engineers office. That is on Resource Boulevard, I believe, or Resource Road.
Resource Management Drive.
Right,
yep.
Right there by the dam. And that would be a Tuesday and Thursday night of those dates. And it's 2 4-hour sessions, and we go into quite a bit of detail. Plus, we are completely open to questions. If you have a problem or you don't understand something, you know, it's not that we're going to chastise you for it.
Yeah.
We want you to ask questions.
And I've been at those courses, and it is a very interactive course. It's a lot of question and answer session. And I think you guys do a wonderful job with that course as well.
Well, I thank you for that, because it takes quite a bit to become an instructor. And as it is with any of the functions that the Coast Guard Auxiliary does. But we're doing them because we want people to be safe. Like I say, it's strictly voluntary to join the auxiliary, and you have to put your own time in to go out and do vessel safety checks, put your time in to do the teach the courses, take time to do aids to navigation, and take time to do program visits. And not only that, I'm also certified as a crew member. And you can go up to crew member, and you can also become a coxswain, which will allow you to operate the boats on patrol. And there's one of the benefits as a young person coming into the Coast Guard Auxiliary, if they can reach coxswain, that if they go into the Coast Guard or the Navy, they will come out as an E3 instead of an E2.
Oh, wow. So you've got all this great service that you're giving back to the community, but then if you choose to join the military branch, either the Coast Guard or the Navy, there's additional benefits beyond just the community service.
Not only that, you'll breeze through boot camp.
Well, Mr. Collins, I really appreciate you being on the show today. Some great information. I certainly hope that our viewers will take to heart the message concerning the boating safety course and the vessel safety checks.
Yes.
And again, I appreciate your time and all the time that the members of the Coast Guard Auxiliary that donate here to West Point Lake.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be here. And one last word is, regardless of your age, wear your life jacket.
I agree. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And we'll be right back after this short break.
Hello, I'm Susan Cromer, Park Ranger with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at West Point Lake, reminding you that life jackets save lives. Life jacket loaner stations are located at our campground and beach area gatehouses around the lake. These life jackets are available for you and your family to use at no cost. Please take advantage of this free program and keep a close eye on your children while enjoying yourself at West Point Lake. For more information, please call 706-645-2937.
Hi and welcome back. I want to thank all of our guests for being on today's show. We had Sergeant Jim Bradfield from the Georgia DNR Law Enforcement Division and the Reverend George Collins with the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. I hope all of our viewers will take advantage of the opportunities offered by both the Georgia DNR and the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. We also want to ask our viewers, if you're interested in volunteering, please make contact with Park Ranger Rebecca Fink at 706-645-2937. Whether you're interested in short-term or long-term volunteer opportunities, both in the campground and in the day use areas. Both of those are currently still available. Also want to remind all of our viewers that 3 of our 4 campgrounds are currently open. We have R. Schaefer Herd, Whitetail Ridge, and Holiday campgrounds that are currently operating. Reservations can be made 180 days in advance by visiting www.recreation.gov or by calling 877-444-6777. Amity Campground will open for the season on April 23rd. Also remember, please wear your life jacket anytime that you are in and around the water. For more information on these stories and more, visit our official Facebook page at facebook.com/westpointlake.usace.